The Hidden Inventory arc, or Gojo's past arc, is the first arc of Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, and it's riddled with holes. In this video, Ultra and I will dissect one of Gege's most acclaimed arcs through a writing lens. We will explain the problem, show how it can be improved, and then provide suggestions to fix the story. Let's go. In the beginning of this arc, Gojo is set up as a character who doesn't care about protecting the weak. In chapter 65, he specifically says, "It's such a pain to look out for the weak," and "Applying reasoning and responsibility to Jujutsu is what weak people do." Further proof is that he didn't care to set up the curtain and made fun of Utahime for being weak. Geto is set up as caring for the weak. In the same chapter, he said, "Society should protect the weak and keep the strong in check. Jujutsu exists to protect non-Jujutsu sorcerers." Further proof is how he told Gojo not to mock Utahime for being weak, and how he immediately challenged Gojo to a fight when he mocked his philosophy. All of this is in the first chapter of Gojo's past. In summary, Gojo is a rule breaker, while Geto is a rule abider. By the end of the arc, chapter 78, both characters switch sides. Geto wants to kill all non-sorcerers, and Gojo wants to protect non-sorcerers. This is a complete 180 that could be justified by well-written character arcs. Recently, I came up with a formula that combined character arcs and themes in order to create a plot. If the theme of the story was, the strong should protect the weak, and Gojo and Geto were supposed to have a clash of ideals, and Gojo's character arc was changing from being the anti-theme to the pro-theme, while Geto had the opposite arc, that's what the plot should have been focused on. It should have created events that pitted both pre-character arc philosophies against each other. Then it should have had events that caused Gojo and Geto to switch philosophies. Then it should have had a climax that pitted their new philosophies against each other. Unfortunately, that's not what happens. Both Gojo and Geto act opposite to how they were initially established throughout the arc, without a clear event changing their mind. Finally, Toji's plan doesn't make sense because of this entire mess. His plan relies on the fact that he believed Gojo would exhaust himself during the mission, but based on Gojo's introduction as a rule breaker, he shouldn't. He shouldn't care about Riko because she's weak. He shouldn't go out of his way to exhaust all his energy protecting her. Toji's plan shouldn't work, but because Gojo was written to fit the needs of the story, it does.
In stories, what matters most is execution. You can have the best ideas, but miss out on impactful moments and emotional scenes if you can't write well. With Yume breaking down the problems, we'll see the difference in execution. We'll examine the character arcs in the Hidden Inventory arc from Jujutsu Kaisen and Kakashi Gaiden from Naruto to see what works. Hidden Inventory begins by giving us a look at young Gito. He thinks about what happened that summer, how cursed spirits ran rampant around the city, and how he kept repeating the motto, exercise, absorb, repeat. Geto talks as if he's isolated, and mentions how no one understands how it feels to absorb cursed spirits. He goes on to explain that what he witnessed is not uncommon. He understood the ugliness of the masses, but he still chose to be a sorcerer. This little intro builds suspense in the audience's mind, and now we wonder what happened that summer. Why is Geto alone? Why is he eating the cursed spirits? And why did he become a Jujutsu sorcerer? In the grander world, we know Geto is evil and dead, so this arc will explore what brought him to his tragic end. When Gojo and Geto save Mei Mei and Utahime, we learn what sets the pair apart. Gojo doesn't take his job as a sorcerer seriously, and Geto follows the rules. Geto believes the role of a sorcerer is to protect the weak so that cursed spirits become a lesser threat. On the other hand, Gojo does what he wants. This has some problems, starting with the basketball scene in episode 2 of Hidden Inventory. The conversation between Geto and Gojo is strange, since in the universe, they're supposed to be best friends that have gone through a bunch of missions together. In stories where pre-existing close relationships are introduced, the writer must effectively portray the dynamics between characters and their familiarity with each other. In Jujutsu Kaisen, this is done poorly, as when Gojo and Geto argue, nothing implies that they had this argument before, and they're surprised by the other's response. In Kakashi Gaiden, we're shown Obito rushing and worried that he's late and someone will kill him. Kakashi scolds Obito for being late and reminds him that ninjas must follow the rules. To let the audience know that the pair know each other, Kakashi complains that Obito stops to help someone every time he's late. Kakashi even accuses Obito of lying. Obito shows his resistance by complaining and says Kakashi only cares about rules and regulations. These details may seem small, but they let the audience know about these characters' relationship with each other, and that it's not something that just suddenly appeared but was always a thing. In Jujutsu Kaisen, the primary relationship falls flat due to poor execution, whereas Kakashi Gaiden shines by showing the audience who the characters are in their world and how they interact. Interactions are cool, but character arcs push stories to new levels. In K.M. Weiland's book titled Creating Character Arcs, she explains that characters naturally resist change. Out of resistance comes conflict. Out of conflict comes plot. Plot is all about a character's goal, what they want and how they go about attaining it. They must realize that they want the wrong thing and understand what they need, or use a different method to get their goal. The idea rings true in both Jujutsu Kaisen and Naruto. In Jujutsu Kaisen, Geto and Gojo's mission is to protect the next star plasma vessel and bring her to the school. In Naruto, Kakashi, Obito, and Rin's mission is to go behind enemy lines and destroy Kanabi Bridge. In both situations, the characters' personalities and values should affect how they succeed. Why? Well, to show their character. How they change throughout their journey. Traits drive fates. Let's look at the by the books guys to see how these stories tackle this. In Naruto, we see Kakashi change. By the end of the arc, Kakashi learns that rules are not everything, and you should value your comrades. He doesn't immediately change, nor does the story act like his value came from thin air. Kakashi became a stickler for the rules due to the of his father. Kakashi became a no-nonsense guy as a result of his past. We even see how this mindset impacts Kakashi's actions. He complains about Obito, and doesn't listen to Minato since Kakashi's the leader. He even plans to abandon Rin. What allows Kakashi to change is Obito confronting Kakashi for prioritizing the mission over his comrades. Obito hits at what makes Kakashi who he is. Obito tells Kakashi that Sakumo Hatake is a true hero. Combining this with everything his friends did for him allows the resistant to change. Now let's see how Jujutsu Kaisen handles this. Geto is also a stickler for the rules and has a twisted relationship with the weak. The mission to protect Riko with the brash and arrogant Gojo comes with some hiccups, on just a personal level. That doesn't happen. Even a 90s buddy cop film would get this right. What's going on? Yeah, Jujutsu Kaisen does whatever. We know this since the entire journey we see our characters go through was already agreed upon by Gojo and Geto before they even met Riko. This is a strange and puzzling decision since Gojo and Geto should disagree on handling this mission. Why? Because the story tells us as much. Gojo and Geto have different values. Gojo should be the least enthused to protect Riko. He readily sacrifices his sleep to the point where Toji could land a surprise attack. Did this come with resistance? No. Gojo just changed who he was, as the story called. Jujutsu Kaisen doesn't even know which character should be acting to the point of self-sacrifice. It should be Geto, not Gojo. Oh wait, it's Gojo, so Toji's great plan works. Well, just moving to Riko's death, Geto should not agree to let Riko decide what she wants to do since it breaks the rules and would put Jujutsu Society at risk. How does Geto deal with this moral dilemma? He thinks he and Gojo can handle things since they are the strongest. This makes little sense, as all this apparent change would have come after the basketball scene and before they met Riko. Geto just changed who he is off-screen and with no hurdles. This is poor storytelling. The character's ideals are not properly challenged, nor do the character's actions make sense. Hidden Inventory lacks cohesion between the character arcs and themes. We don't understand who Geto is, as his values don't directly shape how the mission is handled. Compare this to Kakashi, who lets his values impact the mission and the people around him. Even at the end of Kakashi Gaiden, Kakashi blamed himself for not changing his mind fast enough, which led to the apparent death of his friend. In Jujutsu Kaisen, we get a convoluted explanation of why Geto now hates the weak when it doesn't make much sense in the universe. Geto struggles with his mental health when working alone. However, Geto purposely lies to Gojo about his mental health, and doesn't say anything concerning that for over a year. Geto purposely exercises, consumes, repeats, when he could just exercise the cursed spirits. In Jujutsu Kaisen, the story does not give the audience enough reason to see Geto's actions as believable. To do this in a way that resonates with the plot and story, a writer needs to know their characters and what everything's about. We can see this with Obito. Obito's downward spiral is sparked by several things, but is all tied together by one idea. The idea that, in the ninja world, those who break the rules and laws are regarded as scum, but those who would abandon even one of their friends are even worse than scum. When Obito died, he believed that Kakashi would carry those words. Obito believed that Kakashi would take care of Rin, and Obito believed in Kakashi, and that's why he gave him his eye. On a symbolic level, Kakashi can see the world as Obito once saw it. So when Obito sees his best friend kill the person he loves most, it makes sense for Obito's world to fall apart. If that's not enough, we're given Madara to implant ideas into Obito's head. Even if you exclude the Madara part, Obito already thought he would crush all the so-called ninjas. In Jujutsu Kaisen, we're expected to believe that Geto would kill his own parents, that he wouldn't talk to his own best friend about how he feels for over a year, and that he would believe in Yuki's idea when it doesn't make sense. With all these expectations, it would be nice if we had proper execution. Only if someone could fix these issues.
Wish granted. So in this rewrite, we need to keep a few things in mind. Gojo and Geto have opposing beliefs on how sorcerers should operate, and they need to stick to them. They also need events that will cause them to have a character arc that changes their mind. Toji's plan against Gojo also needs to make sense based on the beliefs of the characters. Let's start with the beginning. When Gojo initially saves Meimei and Utahime, he brags about how strong he is. Geto shows up and mentions that he didn't win the race because he skipped necessary steps to keep people safe. Gojo will argue that it doesn't matter because he's the strongest, and Geto will complain about how he had to put up the veil, which Geto did. This establishes that Gojo and Geto were competing, and that they have differing beliefs about duty.
We jump to the school scene where Geto exposes Gojo for not putting up a veil. This leads to the basketball scene, where Yaga assigns the mission. To settle their differences, Gito and Gojo make a bet. Whoever performs best on the mission will follow the other's method. Geto focuses on keeping Riko happy, healthy, and safe, while Gojo prioritizes defeating the bad guys, and largely ignores Riko unless she boosts his ego. Once again, Riko's caretaker is kidnapped, a turning point that leads to a significant change. Gojo and Geto join forces to rescue her. Geto, feeling guilty, is on the verge of calling off the bet, but his pride prevents him. He doubts his efforts and grows closer to Riko. Meanwhile, Toji hatches a plan to use non-curse users from the Star Plasma group to attack Gojo and Geto, but they fail. Toji, disguised as one of his own, attempts to shoot Geto, but fails. Toji scouted and fought them up close, gaining a deep understanding of their personalities. He exploits Gojo's belief in his own strength by sending henchmen to attack him. In their rivalry, Gojo handles most of the action, leaving Geto to protect Riko as assigned. The nighttime attack prevents Gojo from getting adequate rest, adding to their challenge. Toji exploits Gojo's arrogance by sending goons to tire him out, leading to a near-successful attack.
Geto has a moral dilemma. Does he let Riko become Tengen or break the rules and allow her to do what she wants? His lack of decisiveness leads to Riko getting shot. Geto begins to wear down because he's been doing everything right, but Gojo is outperforming him, to his knowledge. While Gojo is bleeding out, he realizes that despite having no Jujutsu, Toji is strong, and he chose to use that power to kill for money as an amoral assassin. Gojo realizes the consequences of unchecked power. He realizes that a lack of reason and responsibility could lead to him and other powerful people down a path like Toji's, and he doesn't want that. He thinks to himself that if he had a second chance, he would do things differently. He would protect the weak and keep the strong in check. As he has his character arc, he begins to understand reverse curse technique. Gojo comes back with healing, red, and purple, rewards for his character arc. His first act of keeping the strong in check and protecting the weak is dealing with Toji. He and Toji fight and Gojo is the victor. When Geto sees Gojo with Riko's body, Geto thinks about their bet and how it feels like Gojo was rewarded for everything he did. He's tragically unaware of the fact that Gojo changed his beliefs. He can sense Gojo has gotten stronger. He's beat Toji, and now he's retrieved Riko's body. In Geto's eyes, the crowd is clapping to praise Gojo, but mocking him. Instead of Gojo asking Geto to kill them, Geto just builds up his cursed energy and Gojo tells him to stop. The scene ends with the people clapping and Geto staring at them.
Flash forward, Geto avoids working with Gojo, unwilling to admit his loss, while Gojo has forgotten about their bet. Geto consumes random cursed spirits to gain strength and becomes obsessed with rules, feeling power is the only solution. He snaps similarly and realizes his power. Everything follows the same path, but it's revealed Gojo knew Geto killed the Star Plasma people but didn't want to believe it. Gojo didn't rat Geto out, unlike Geto's initial betrayal. Geto asks his iconic question at the arc's end.